My name is Mostapha Elmnini. I'm a Lebanese born. I was born and raised in Lebanon. I was raised on the Islamic religion and the Shia faith. As a kid, Islam came to me as a fitra, as a natural. You're born and raised in an Islamic family, so naturally you become a Muslim. Of course, as you grow older, then your beliefs start changing, your mind starts expanding, and then you start questioning your religion. And then, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, as I grow older, my religion got stronger, my beliefs got stronger. You think Islam is a very, very simple religion, and embracing Islam was a very, very simple process. You think of the Quran and the miracle of the Quran, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You think of the Imam, the sacrifices they did, the life they led. And I think you have to be no-brainer to think Islam is the right religion and the right path. In 1986, I came to Canada on a student visa to continue my education. Alhamdulillah, I finished my education as an industrial engineer. I wanted to become an industrial engineer because this was always a hobby of mine. You know, since I was raised, I always liked to work with machine, design stuff. Of course, when you're going through a stage of your life where you wanna, you wanna finalize your future, you wanna know what you are, you have to think of two things. You know, what makes you money and what makes you happy as well, and what satisfies your religion. So what I did, came to Canada to Georgian College, and I finished my education, and I graduated with high honors. After my graduation, I worked in Honda of Canada Manufacturing as a project engineer. The job paid good, everything was good. And the only obstacles, like you're not happy with, like you're not satisfied with what you're giving and who you're giving with, and all your effort and is going with no repayments. Like you feel like you're working like a robot. You know, like you're not doing something. We're on this life for a reason, and I feel that that was my reason, is to be a part manufacturer, designer, or something like this. Okay, in 1989, my family came over, and they've decided to stay in Canada. When I first came, my goal in life was, okay, you finish your education, you go back home, and you work back home. But with the situation Lebanon was in, the war situation, peace, job opportunities, everything was lacking. So I've decided, yeah, we should try to build a future in Canada until the time comes and we could all go back to our country. So my family came in 1989. In 1991, we've established Al-Zahra Halal Meat. We figured out we need to do business where we could do Mardatullah. We need to do something that we could serve the community, be part of the community. Eventually, when we have kids, our kids will be growing in that community. At that time, we were living distant from the main city, from Toronto, and I think the number of Muslims in the town I was in was 15, where in Toronto we're in the 10th of thousands. So we moved to Toronto and we established Al-Zahra Halal Meat. We're meat eaters, so you could get your protein out of barbecue. We're not into tumman and rice and stuff like this. You don't go to a butcher place and feed you rice and vegetables.
حبيبة سلسلة طويلة أكثر منك يعني فيك على الكاميرا.
So my name is Karen Elmnini, and I'm Haj Mostapha's wife, and we've been married for 25 years now. And I have been a Muslim for those 25 years. I have to say that I learned things very gradually, so I made the changes in my life gradually. But I've always found that to be closer to my husband and to have a more relaxed and unified relationship, really, it's important for us to be on the same page. and more so because of our children. So it's much easier, of course, raising children for us to have the same opinions religiously. Less conflict and less division, really, of ideas, thoughts. We really have to be a team raising the kids. We can't be two different people. We can't have one, the children playing one against the other. So if my answers for their questions are different than my husband's, that's going to be an issue, I feel anyway. I've learned a lot of things over the years from my husband, which has brought me closer to him and has created a real appreciation of his knowledge. I was born and raised in Canada, so I didn't get the same type of education as he did. And same for him, he didn't get the same type of education I did. So we've been able to educate each other over the years. But of course, Islamically, he's teaching me more than I've taught him. I first met my husband in 1986 when pretty much soon after he came, he immigrated to Canada. And initially, it was a little bit difficult for all members of my family to accept him. I think it was mainly because we really had no concept of what Islam was back then. We grew up in a fairly small town, and to my knowledge there were no other Muslims in town. So he was different to what we knew, but he was always willing to answer anybody's questions about Islam. And I think that was a real asset in terms of having all members of my family accept him fully and accept the changes that I undertook over the years. And I used him as an example. I mean, he was always willing to answer questions and show by example, and I would do the same thing.
I'll tell you a story that happened to me. It shows how with your patience and akhlaq and behavior you can change a person. About 10 years ago, there was a car parked in front of my business. It was about minus 30 degrees outside. And we've noticed the car from 3 o'clock, we're closing, and it's about 8 o'clock and the car is still there. So I approached the car, and there was a lady and her daughter inside. So I said, "Can I help you?" Now she was parked in front of a halal meat store. At that time it was 9/11 and everybody's paranoid about Islam and stuff. So anyway, so as soon as I approached her car, like, she got really scared, and like she started saying, no, I don't need help, I don't need help. I said, well, just open the window a little bit, I need to know why are you here. She goes, I ran out of gas and my husband's coming to bring me gas. I said, okay, fine, do you need any help, anything? And both mother and daughters are shivering and they're sitting in the back seat and they're... So anyway, so I took my brother and we left. On the road, I told him, like, if we leave this lady and her husband, if he hasn't showed up from 3 o'clock till 8, what's the chances of him coming, like, to rescue her? So I told him what we should do. We should take gas and go put gas in her car. And we'll do what we should do. So anyway, so I went, I got some gas, I came back to her, and same thing, she's scared, she doesn't want to open the door. I said, I don't want you to open the door, just open for me the gas tank. I've got some gas for you, I'll put gas in your car, and then I have to go. So anyway, so she did. So we put about $10 worth of gas in her car, and she started the car, I made sure she's okay, and she's gone. The second day, a white Canadian walks into the store. He's got the worst attitude ever. He goes, somebody helped my wife yesterday. He put gas in her car. I said, yeah, I did. Can I help you? He goes, she told me you put $10 worth of gas in her car. I'm coming to pay you. He's got this bad attitude, like, I mean, he's walking into halal meat stores, everybody's got beards. And so I said, listen, wait. I mean, you didn't pay me enough. If you were to pay me, you have to pay me for everything. I mean, you can't just pay me for the gas. You have to pay me for my time, You have to pay me for my effort. You have to pay me for this. He said, well, how much do you want? I told him I want $1,000. If you want to really pay me, you have to give me $1,000 or take your $10 and walk out. She said, well, how could it be $1,000? I said, well, if you want to pay me, that's how much you have to pay me, or I don't want your money. You know, I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I don't want your daughter and your wife to freeze in front of the store, because they could have. We did not ask for help, and she was waiting to die in the car because they'll just freeze. Anyway, she said, well, no, I have to repay you and stuff. I said, I don't want you to pay me, because in my religion, in my teachings, what I've been taught, I have to help, and I don't expect you to pay me for my help. But if you're insisting to pay, you have to pay the $1,000, or just take your $10 and walk. So right away he changed his attitude. He's like, well, thank you very much, and I'm sorry, I should have said thank you. I should have approached you differently. I was just scared just to walk inside your store. I said, well, we don't eat people, we don't bite. I mean, we help as much as what we could. So he said, okay, well, I'm gonna take my $10 back, and I owe you a favor. I have a tow truck, and one day when you're stuck on the moon, you call me, I'll be there. I have to repay you the favor that you did. Because now I think of it, and yes, my wife did the stupid thing, and they could have died in your parking lot. I said, thank you very much, that's all what I need. So anyway, so he left. And eventually I needed a tow truck, so I wanted to see if he's gonna stand for his word. So I called him. I said, you know, I need you to tow my car from this place to this place, but I want to pay you for it. I just wanted to see if he's a man for his word. So anyway, so eventually he came, he towed my car, and then we started to develop a relationship. He started buying his meat in the store. He started getting to know us, and then eventually his wife came again, and she thanked me for what we did. And they just, like, the whole attitude changed. He brought his family, they became our customers, and we hit it off since then. Like, even right now, I call him every now and then and stuff like this. So what we did, we changed his view about Islam and halal, because the word halal scared him. It's an Islamic thing. You know, and right now he respects Muslims, he knows what we do, he knows our manners, our akhlaq, and that's how we change a person.
Approve? يعني approve.
One day at Juan. You're yelling at me.
ولو فورتان.
والله فورتان
والله فورتان.
انا مش عم بدفع
يا عمي فورت
هذا بعز ولا ما
فورت الفورت هات يا عمي هات بياخذ ساندويش دايت كوك. شو قالوا لي you lost سقطت امبارح.
ايش سقط big time يا زلمه.
Yeah, you didn't do good at all.
No.
والله this is احنا شايفين حمد مصطفى is everything here.
قلنا له خلص الليله من
القصه الكبيره والله. This is about حماد, you know the حماد اسمه مش هيك. He told him pray in front of me, so when he prayed he said subhanallah, يعني my Shia followers they pray like this. So he told him, so he prayed, Imam Sadiq, he prayed in front of him, and he told him that's how you pray.
Well, I've learned about Imam Hussein, of course, from books, from my husband, from programs on the TV, or especially just attending the mosque, you know, during Ashura. I think that the story itself creates a forum for many lessons and, you know, humanity, patience, so many things. And often we, like my husband and I, draw upon the examples of the Imams, and especially Imam Hussein, to make a point for our children, to try and teach our children things, like, for instance, how to be patient, or how to not make small problems into big problems, how to appreciate what they have and not what, you know, not yearn for what they don't have in terms of material things.
In 1994, me and my wife went for Hajj for the first time. My wife is a convert, and going to Hajj was a big thing for her.
We wanted to do our Hajj together before we had children. That was important to us, to do it before we had children, because we really did want to focus on ourselves, and we wanted to focus on Allah and the tasks that were before us. And I really felt strongly that if I had children waiting for me at home, things would be a little bit different. My mind would be not as focused.
She wanted to do the right thing. She wanted to fulfill her duties. She was really paranoid about, like, we were going with an Arabic-speaking group, so I was her only translator in that group.
I don't think I could have done the Hajj without my husband there, because I really don't speak much Arabic at all, and so he had to translate practically everything for me. And I was very concerned that I was doing things correctly.
So she was scared that I would get involved with other things, with my duties, and I'll forget about her, and so on. So we did collect as much as what we could in material in Canada to give her some comfort, some du'as, translations, manasik al-Hajj, everything that we could do, we could find in English, we did take with us.
So I really relied on him. I really depended on him. I depended on what he knew. I depended on his own spirituality, because translations can be different from one person to the next.
We went to Medina, and then we met one of the Iranians brothers who, spoke English to us. So we said, like we're looking for some material, some books, and anything that we could use for my wife, because she's honestly feeling left out, and we need to get her something she could, she could map for herself. So we did. He took us into one of their libraries, and there was one copy left. I still remember the color of the book was pink, and in it had everything like a person needs to do his Hajj duties, besides all the du'as that we could think of. They were included in that book. So right away my wife took the book, and she's marked it all, highlighted everything she needs. She put numbers, she put summaries, everything she needs in that book. And when we got to Mecca and we're visiting Kaaba Sharifa, she put the book together with all our belongings right under Mizrab al-Rahma. So we did our tawaf, we did sa'i, we finished the first day, and then we came back, we found everything except that book was missing. At that point, my wife was really devastated. Like, she mapped her way around, the Hajj trip around that book, and all of a sudden that book disappeared, and she felt like, well, maybe God is not meaning for me to finish my Hajj, and so she started going into panic mode, and so on. So that night, me and her, we were sitting at the back of the hall, looking at the Kaaba, and she was reading whatever she had in material, and I was reading in the Quran, and we're doing our du'as and worshipping to God. And all of a sudden I see in the back of my eye, like there's a gentleman or somebody, like just jumping between people and coming towards us. So I didn't really take care much, like hundreds of people in there, it's going everywhere. And then this person came right to me, and he handed me in my left arm, on top of my left shoulder, a book. So I grabbed the book and I put it on my side just to finish the verse of Quran I was reading. And then I looked at the book, and it was an exact copy of the book that my wife lost. It wasn't the same copy, it was an exact print of the same book, the same color, same everything, the same book. So I felt like everyone gets touched by something, especially when you go for Hajj or you go for Ziyarah. There's something that really marks, like a distinctive event that highlights your trip, and this highlighted my trip, because in my mind, what's the chances of this gentleman or whoever it is comes to me and hands me a book, how would he know we speak English? How would he know? Like, there's so many hows, whys. Why did this happen? I could only think there's no one could do this except Imam Mahdi, Sahib al-Zaman, Ajjalallah Farajuh, alayhi salam. كيف أبغى؟ This is Hussam, my brother. He's taking over the management of the retail store. Assalamu alaikum.
My name is Hussam and I'm taking care of the store, responsible for the management of the store and the butcher shop. So we have different type of customers that comes to Al-Zahra. So most of them are Muslims from different nationalities, Arabs, Pakistani, Indian and so on. And so we go through a lot to make sure that we provide our customer with the halal product that is 100% assured. So our products, we usually go back to our providers like wholesalers to get certificates for those products if it is a packaged product. And for our products, we try to emphasize a lot on the importance of providing the customer with 100% halal products, whether it is in the butcher shop for retail or even for the packaged products that are on the shelves. We recognize it is important that customers eat halal product because it affects their soul. So when you feed your body with non-halal products, it affects your reactions, your behavior. And within Islam, you probably start taking things easy, starting from the food. It affects other behaviors that a person might do as far as the reaction and interaction with the society around us. We also see there's also quite a bit of people who come in from who are non-Muslims. So we have like some Jews, we have some Christians who come over for the quality of the meat. And they do see the difference between the meat that's being slaughtered halal or the meat that's non-halal, because it could be sometimes some residual blood in it that's more than the others, or the smell is different, as well as the quality.
Of course, through our experience in Canada, we were always guided by our beliefs, our traditions, the teaching of our imams, and the sacrifices they made. Every year when we go to commemorate Ashura and the martyr of Imam Hussein, we always think of their life and how could we implement that in our life. We think of Imam Hussein with the sacrifices he did, the integrity, doing the right thing, the courageous role he played. And in our life in Canada, every day we have Ashura, and every one of us should be Imam Hussein sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We live Ashura every day in our sacrifices. There's so much temptations outside for us and for our kids, and we have to learn from Imam Hussein. It was so easy for him to flow with Yazid and just acknowledge his role and just agree with him, and everything would have been fine and dandy. But no, Imam Hussein wanted to do the right thing, and the right thing was to do what he did. He sacrificed his family, he was oppressed, but at the end he got the victory he wanted. And that's what we do. We sacrifice every day for our families, for our future. I would rather be back home with my family. We've got a huge number of my brothers were here and they moved back home. But no, we decided to stay here to make a better future for our kids. We want them to do the right thing. We don't want them to take the shortcuts. We want them to fit in the society in here, which they do, but they also, there's lots of things they're deprived of. There's lots of things they can't do. And I hope they always do the right thing.
Well, I studied sociology, and I actually did not get into my field after university. So a couple of years after I graduated from university, we started having a family. And we made the conscious decision to have me stay at home with the children. You could look at it as a sacrifice in the sense that I did sacrifice having a career, but I've always felt that, you know, putting your energies and your energy into your children, your love, your energy, all your time, all of your passion into your children is worth it. And I would gladly any day do the same thing over again. I've always thought that instead of having somebody else raise my children, for instance at a daycare or at a babysitter's, I can do it myself, even if it means I'm not pulling in that second income. I would rather have it that way. He's always worked many long hours. He really works 7 days a week, you could say. And again, this was all, you know, it's part of our sacrifice to try and get the best of both worlds, in the sense that if he works longer hours, then I can stay at home and look after the children. So at least one of us is always with the children. And we've had this arrangement, you know, since the first child was born, and it's still like that till today.
This product here we're cutting is beef pepperoni. It's used for pizza stores and some restaurants. I think we were one of three Islamic, halal Islamic establishments that were serving the Islamic population. And there was a mass need for processed food, bolognese, hot dogs, roast beef. It was available in the Canadian markets, but it was prohibited on Muslims. There was nothing that's made in halal. So our focus started into establishing a plant where we could do processed meat. And we did. We succeeded in establishing a halal processed product plant in, I think, 1993. And we did succeed in providing everything that you could find in the Canadian market to the halal consumption, whether from pepperoni, bacon. So there was nothing my kids or anybody's kids could see in the market, say, oh, I fancy, breakfast with bacon and eggs, and won't find it halal. So with some technologies, with some experimentations and stuff, we did succeed of making every single halal product that you could wish for. Also, there was a lacking of a chicken processing plant. All processing plants were controlled by non-Muslims, and it's not just the halal slaughtering was the problem. The problem was keeping the product not contaminated with other products, was the purity of the product. So again, what we did, we've established a plant for strictly for chicken processing, for our retail outlet and also for our wholesale purposes.
Okay, we're certified by Sayyid Ali Jazairi. He's got an organization for halal certifications. He's one of our imams who's active in the halal industry, who knows the rules and what comes with it, whether contamination, purity, non-purity. Now, before Al-Zahra, we used to certify people halal. Like we would supply a restaurant, give them halal certificate. And then as we do it, other people would do it too. So finally we've decided, why don't we have a body of imams, somebody who's responsible, that would take this one to a second level, where everybody who's Shia, Sunni, everybody certified under one organization. So we picked Sayyid Ali's organization to certify as halal. And we did it mainly to put an example for other butcher shops and restaurants and stores that, we don't need to certify people ourselves. We need to be certified by a body who's much bigger than Al-Zahra Halal Meat or any organization, any restaurant, any store. And as his organization grow, it's going to grow not just in Toronto. It's going to be in Ontario, it's going to be in Montreal, it's going to be in Canada, and hopefully it's going to be worldwide. This way we have one body that govern halal. And if I go anywhere, I see his certificate displayed, I've got absolutely no doubts. I could eat, my kids could eat, anybody could eat, whatever is available in that establishment.
It was very important for me to, in my line of work, to show my identity. And I could really show my identity in dealing and selling halal meat. Supplying halal meat to the Muslim population is a very, very important issue to me, and not just halal meat, it's a proper halal meat. It's very important because I want to make sure that my kids and other people's kids and all Muslims, they know what halal meat is and they have access to it. This is one of the main reasons why we started processing of halal meat. I think we're the only halal-owned establishment in Toronto that supplies halal meat products to the Muslim population. Like once you start eating non-halal, then your heart hardens, and once your heart hardens, you start falling in ma'asi. And one step leads you to another. Once you allow one thing to slip, then the other thing will follow. If you start missing morning prayers, eventually you start missing Zuhr prayers, eventually you start... So it's a very, very important for me to keep the link closed.
How are you? Coffee, man. Coffee and donuts. Okay, so make 2 more boxes with no skin.
No?
No, for Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Okay, actually for Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Where I work, where my warehouse is located, is mainly Chinese population, and I think in every community, people of the same communities, they tend to fight with each other more than what they fight with other people who are foreigner to them. So I've noticed in my presence in that complex that Chinese people tend to hate each other. So every one of them will come to me, he will say, okay, don't talk to Kenny, Kenny's not a good person. And then Eddie will come and say, don't talk to Kenny because Kenny's... So anyways, I've noticed these differences between them, and it's very, very... And me being a director in that complex, I have to be on everybody's side. I have to... I have to connect with everybody, and I have to bring them together. So I've learned that the best way to bring them together is by facing them by each other. Face your fears, face your enemy, face just face them together. So on a few occasions, what would happen, like Kenny and Eddie, for example, they'll be together, and I know they've got their own differences. So what I do, I clash them together. I say, Kenny, you've told me that you don't like Eddie because he did something, and I do the same for... and at that point, what I find, they bring out their differences, and it usually used to work for them to make up together. Some of the challenges that we face in Canada are mainly youth issues, whether in the school system, whether it's temptations, freedom of opinion. We live in a multicultural country, which I think comes a little bit easier than what we find in other countries. The only way we could deal with issues like this is by having our voice being heard, whether in the school system. I know my wife is one of the trustees, one of the school, and every issue that comes around, we turn it Islamically, you know, whether it's doing a praying room for kids in school, whether it's as simple as a picnic, preparing for the picnic has to be halal. So it has to be, we have to always be aware of who we are and even let people know who we are. I believe one of the biggest problems that we face in our community is dealing with the youth. People in my generation, I think they have surpassed the time where you have to really concentrate on them, like to educate them. I know we came back home and we carried the tradition and the education, the Islamic education, ta'aleem of the Prophet and the Imams. We brought it in here with us, but for our kids, they were never exposed to such ta'aleem and to the traditions. So it's very, very important for us to create something in this, like in here, where they could learn from, they could relate to. And I think this falls on the imams of the community, where they really have to find a way of communicating with the youth, because this is our asset. If I'm here in Canada, it's not because of me. If I'm here, it's because of my kids. And I know millions of families are in the same boat. You know, we're not here for me. Like I'm definitely here for them. One way to resolve it is by making youth programs. There's lots of programs that are offered and supported, funded by the government for the youth, because the youth issue is not just an Islamic problem. It's worldwide problem.
Yes, I have to agree with my husband. Our youth today face so many challenges, and it's not just the Muslim youth, but, you know, speaking from an Islamic perspective, I think that our youth are dealing with challenges based on image, acceptance, and I really do feel that the media plays a huge role in how our children are living or trying to live their lives today, whether for good or for bad. As a Muslim parent, I am constantly trying to communicate to my children the importance of following Islam and the teachings of the Imams. There is so much value in these teachings, of course, and they can be applied to problems of today. But if we were to really get to have someone help us deal with issues such as, you know, drugs or alcohol or things of that nature, I would definitely want to look to the leadership of our communities to help us. And I feel that many forums need to be created that involve the youth and not just the parents and the religious leaders. So there has to be meetings between all three, parents, leadership, and kids, to find out really what is on their minds and how we can help them, for lack of a better term, ride the teen years through, because the challenges are sometimes too great, and like with any youth, some of them fall through the cracks, and we don't want that at all.
Okay, I remember one time I've asked my youngest son, what does Islam mean to you? So he gave me an explanation that I will never forget, and I use always. He said Islam is a small circle in a bigger circle. The small circle is where Islam is. That's the Mecca of people. That's the best people. They are the best rules and everything. And all the other religions are scattered around that circle. So every time somebody comes closer to the circle, like starts doing good, whether it's quit smoking, quit drinking, starts closer to God, they come closer to the circle until everybody's in the circle where the Muslims are in, which I found interesting.
إني ألقى الإيناس في صومي وصلاتي ودعائي للرحمن وجميع الطاعات. وجميع الطاعات. إني ألقى الإيناس في صومي وصلاتي ودعائي للرحمن وجميع الطاعات. هل لي من الرحمن فيضا من البركات أنجو من النيران ومخاطر الدركات. هل لي من الرحمن فيضا من البركات أنجو من النيران